So first of all, National Nurses Week is coming up, May the 6th through the 12th. We've got a lot of nurses that work at Avamere Living and Signature, and so I hope that we do a good job honoring the nurses who are making a difference in the lives of the people that we serve. I know that I'll be up at SQUIM that week. And Heather has, she's told me that the day that I'm coming, they're celebrating with Hawaiian Day. So I'll be ready for that in your team, Heather, dressed in Hawaiian stuff. Then the following week is National Nursing Home Week. And again, I hope we do a good job honoring everybody that lives and works in our communities, and that we make that a really fun week at Avamere. We just missed last month, if you're an occupational therapist, April was Occupational Therapy Month. So thanks to all the occupational therapists who work so hard to serve our customers at Avamere Living and at Signature and Infinity. So hats off to you. So coming back to where we are today in Medford. So we came down on Monday and we started our tours off at Table Rock. Table Rock is a freestanding memory care facility that Avamere was asked to manage about a year ago. About a year ago, Table Rock, I believe under a different name, was failing regulatorily and financially. Over the course of the last year, Christy and Lori and your team, you've created a real success story. Over the last year, you've eliminated all the regulatory issues at Table Rock. The census hold has been lifted. You've managed to more than double the census there at Table Rock. And what was really interesting to learn was, and I'm mistaken, correct me on this, the turnover rate at Table Rock is less than 1% a year. So what an amazing story. So to cap that off, hopefully we'll be able to capitalize now on the great work that you and your team have done at Table Rock. That community's property is for sale, and we're in the final round to acquire the real property at Table Rock and hopefully make it a permanent fixture here in Medford. So thanks for all that you've done. By the way, I've heard some stories, hurricane stories there in Table Rock. And so if you're from Medford, you probably know what those are. And I look forward to having that when you're either full or we buy you or both. The last thing I would say is we had a great pizza lunch with the staff at Table Rock. But if you've been there, as good as the pizza was, I don't want to miss Sholanda's cooking. She's got a great team, and she was making barbecue chicken, apple pie. Oh my gosh, I think we missed out, so I don't miss that next time. We moved on then later that day on Monday to Rogue Valley. Rogue Valley is a freestanding skilled facility, and it's run by Tyler Boland, one of a new administrator. By the way, I've known Tyler since he was in grade school, and I'm excited for him to show us what he's capable of as a leader. He and we are blessed with a new addition to his team, strong director of nursing. Christy just arrived, and Kristen. And together, I think they're going to make a really strong team. We spent the night at the community, and we had a great time. The food was good. The staff was very welcoming. I fit in the bed, and we just had a great time. If you know me, one of my bad habits is I like cigars. And so I went out to the courtyard, the smoking area, and I had a resident come up. And his name, I think I can say first name, Ken. And Ken had been there for just a little bit. And I asked him how things were going, and he was absolutely delighted at the care and service he was receiving at Rogue Valley. I said, okay, Ken, that all sounds good, but let's get honest with each other. Tell me one thing that we can do to improve our service for you. And he thought about it and thought about it. And he said, Rick, I got to tell you, there's nothing you can do. I'm totally satisfied. I'm totally delighted. I have not one concern. Thanks for all you're doing. So the folks at Rogue Valley, congratulations on that. There's one other thing. Kristen, the new director of nursing, I made the mistake. I left my cigars and lighter on the bedside stand one evening. And the next day I went to look for them and they were gone. Well, they had been removed and I had to go to the director of nursing's office and had to sign that I had read the smoking policy and agreed never to make that mistake again. So I'm sorry, guys. We then came here to Waterford last night. And I got to tell you, it's been a long time since I toured a lot of our communities. It's just a delight to be back here. This is a beautiful physical plant. And I know the folks that are working here, you've had a really difficult year. And so we're looking to provide as much support and help that you need to return this community to the status that it deserves to be. It's a premier provider and a premier employer. And I'm sure we'll get there together. We also spent some time with the Signature Home Health and Hospice team here in Medford. That was great. Got to see Kevin again, Cody again. Met a great gal who works there, Judy, if you're listening in, Harley lover. I love that. I'm beginning to expose during our visits Bob Thomas, who used to run Signature Home Health and Hospice. Well, I had a little video clip of him singing in church a couple of weeks ago, and he is such a wonderful singer with a beautiful voice. He makes you cry. So I played it for everybody there, and so they got to hear Bob sing. But it was really great to see you folks, meet a lot of you for the first time. And I would say the opportunity that we have in Medford is this, and that is for Table Rock, Rogue Valley, Waterford, and Signature to collaborate and work more closely together to figure out how to help each other, both individually at at all the sites, but more important, how to win together here in Medford. And so I hope you spend more time together, learning and supporting each other, sharing best practices, and competing with the other providers together rather than individually here in Medford. Okay, there are a lot of other visits that we've made over the last month and a half since we last came together. Just real quick, some of them that stand out: Cascade in Vancouver, Ryan, the administrator there, and Jody. Again, there are some common themes to success here, like really strong directors of nursing. Jody at Cascade in Vancouver has been there for 18 years. And over this last year or two, they've managed to transition Cascade from a long-term care nursing facility into primarily short stay. Now we're averaging 50 plus short stay patients. And apparently the new contract they've signed with a physicians group in Vancouver, that should go to an average of, say, 60 or 65 short-term patients. What was memorable about the visit, besides that, was I asked about staffing. And like Table Rock, I said, how is it with recruiting and retention of staff? And Ryan said, look, I'll tell you the truth. People come and go from Cascade. But what happens is most people that go to a competing facility where they're offering higher wages. And when they express an interest to do that, Ryan encourages them to leave, thanks them for all the hard work and the impact that they've had on the lives at Cascade, and then keeps the door open for their return. And he says 9 out of 10 times the folks that leave Cascade for a higher paying wage at a competitor's building come back because the environment is such a strong and loving environment. And you can just tell it when you talk with the folks there. So I was really impressed with that. Went to visit Heritage. Heritage is a community of up in Tacoma, and had an excellent visit up there with Chris Miller and her team, including Kathy. She's got a great vision up there. They're making a lot of physical plant changes. They just got their VA contract back. And one of the experiences that I recall there is that we were doing a tour together And one of the union representative came up to me and she says, you know, I've worked for a lot of administrators before, but this is the best. I nominate her for Administrator of the Year. You know, and that comes from the SEIU. That's pretty amazing. So Chris, thanks and congratulations on that. Spent some time with old friends at Lebanon. I used to be the administrator there at Lebanon some 25 years ago, and it was really nice to see some folks that I used to work with 25 years ago at Lebanon. So thanks for having us. It used to be called Villa Cascade back then. We also took this similar tour to Eugene, went to River Park and Eugene Rehab and Junction City and Signature Home Health and Hospice out of Eugene. A lot of great experiences there. Spent the night in a couple of those communities as well, and it was really awesome. One of the people that stand out is at Eugene Rehab. Skylar is a transitional administrator there, again with a really strong director of nursing, Margaret, who is making a big change at Eugene. So thanks for coming on board, Margaret. We also want to welcome Damian Haskins, who's going to be the new administrator at Eugene, as Skylar moves on to hopefully another facility of ours. And I would issue the same challenge for the folks at Eugene. There are 3 facilities and an agency. The opportunity to get better and to compete as a team exists for you as well as it does here in Medford. I would challenge you to do that. Let's see, a few other things. Enough about the communities. I want to recognize Carl Tabor. If you work in the nursing division, or if you're a nurse, he's a vice president of clinical services, oversees all clinical services there. And something that I know is really important besides clinical outcomes is Carl has a teenage son who's an extraordinary football player and is already being recruited to different high schools and had some folks from colleges come out and look at him. And he was recently asked to practice with the defensive lineman from the Buffalo Bills. I think that Trevor we're going to read about him in the future. So Carl, congratulations on that. I also want to welcome some new communities. In Ogden, Utah, Mountain Ridge is now part of the Avamere family. Welcome, that transition happened about a month ago. And then I believe today begins the transition for the Stratford in Phoenix as it transitions into an Avamere community-based care. So if you're listening in, welcome on your first day at Avamere. We're also welcoming a new community, Fiesta Park, probably June the 1st, as we expand into New Mexico. It is a short stay facility. I want to thank Rick Samuelson, who's been with the organization for like 15 years. He'll be moving out there and taking over that community soon. If you didn't know this person, I just want to recognize a lady who recently lost a battle with cancer. Janice Nesbetta. Janice started off as a CNA and then became a nurse and ultimately spent some 15 or 18 years at Avamere, the last 12 or so as the director of nursing at King City. If you knew Janice, you knew that her priority was great outcomes. She was a great director of nursing for us. She dedicated her life to excellence as a nurse. And so we'll always remember the good work that Janice did for all the people that she served at Avamere. There's been some talk about pharmacy. I want to let you know that in the next 30 days or so, we're going to be transitioning to a new pharmacy, Pharmerica, which is a large national chain. And so hopefully that transition will go well. And hopefully the equipment that they have and the services that they offer will represent excellence. And I'm going to look forward to hearing your feedback as soon as that transition is made. I want to congratulate a lot of announcements, a lot going on. But I want to congratulate Infinity. They just took on 4 new contracts in Colorado, contract rehab therapy contracts. That company we started in 1999 with the help of Bob Thomas, Mike Billings, Donna Mueller. It's been almost 20 years since they started that business. They'll be celebrating their 20-year anniversary at the Infinity Symposium this weekend up in Portland. So congratulations. That company has grown from originally 9 contracted facilities, which were all Avamere at the time, to somewhere approaching 250 contracts in some 14 or 15 states. Besides the size, it's about the quality of services that they're providing. So congratulations to Bob, Mike, and Don, and also to the new president of that company, Jolynn Monroe. Signature recently, Home Health and Hospice, expanded their footprint and took over agencies in Albany and on the Oregon coast, and Newport, Lincoln City. So congratulations on that. I also want to send out congratulations and thanks to Mary Hofstad, who is the new president of Home Health and Hospice, replacing Mike Billings as the president, as Mike has become an executive vice president for the company. I think I could keep on going, but I'm trying to see if there's anything else that's really relevant today. I think one thing you should be aware of, in the next 90 days, you're going to hear a lot about this new joint venture that we're engaging in. We're starting an insurance company. And that company's name will be AgeRight. It's a iSNP, an insurance company that will represent, be available for long-term residents in our nursing facilities and all of our residents in our assisted and memory care facilities. You'll hear more about that to come. I'm really excited about it. If we do a good job becoming a partner with AgeRight currently exists, we're going to become a significant partner in it. The benefit will be the addition of nurse practitioners in our communities, better podiatry care for those that sign up for, better dental services, and so I'll have more to say about that. It's an exciting point in time for Avamere and the people that we serve as we enter the fully capitated insurance business. The last thing I would say before we take questions is Avamere has been in our home office for, I believe, at least a decade. And we now have offices in different locations. And so we are now exploring the idea of moving into a new home office, and in fact have identified a site where we'd like to be just a few miles away from the Wilsonville campus to about I-5 and 217. So both right off the freeway, very close. Not sure if this is going to happen, but we'll start engaging the home office staff to plan that over the next 6 months. And if it happens, it'll ultimately occur in the next 2 to 3 years. Okay, so I've taken a long time to give you this update. Thanks for listening. I hope that's helpful. We've just got a lot of things and a lot of very good things going on at Avamere. I want to make sure that you understand what's going on at your company. So the most important part of the talk with Rick is asking questions. And there is so how do they ask that question? Is it online or how do they do it, Sean?
Here's how it's going to work. I'm going to unmute. It's actually from a phone caller. Their phone number is 503-693-9944. Okay. I'm going to unmute them in a second, but I have to mute us first, and then I'll unmute them and they can ask their question.
Okay.
So give us just a sec here. Okay, caller, you can go ahead and talk now. Maybe they don't know they're online.
Okay. Anybody else want to ask any questions here or abroad? Anything about the company, anything about the business, anything you want to hear about? Easy or controversial? Yes.
How did Avamere get started? Where did it come from?
Okay, so the question was, how did Avamere get started? So that was about 24 years ago, this December, I think I've got that right, in 1995. And we started with leasing of an old skilled nursing facility in Hillsborough. That's similar to Table Rock, was facing closure because of regulatory compliance issues, financial losses, and so, but it was located in a unique place right across the street from the city's Oklahoma hospital, and so that's how. There's more to it. So I sold my house, I sold my car, I moved in with my mom, and I put everything I had into that facility. And with the grace of God and the ability to find some really good people who thought we could be different, and a lot of hard work and a lot of luck, we made it through some very critical times early on, and we should have closed. But the end result is the team pulled together, and within a year, we were able to buy that facility. Essentially became the facility provider of choice in that area, and we remodeled the facility, and it was with that success that created the opportunity to start growing and acquiring other properties. That was an easy one. That was a softball. Usually my hands start sweating when these questions start. That was.
Okay, we have a question from online.
Okay.
T. Briscoe. I'm going to unmute them.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Hi, I'm from the Pocatello office, and I'm just calling, asking. So it feels a little bit like as Signature took over and as Avamere is over Signature, obviously, that I'm not sure that at a corporate level you guys really understand our community. We are a really small community that has a lot of competition, home health and hospice-wise, and it feels a little bit like our hands are tied a little bit when it comes to like the way we market, because it's different. Just a different zone than, like the Wilsonville and Portland areas.
Unmute us.
There you go.
Okay. And what was the person's name?
T. Briscoe.
Okay. Thank you. So let me acknowledge a couple of things that you just said. I would say at the executive team level, in many ways, we do not have an understanding of what's going on in Pocatello. And I've never been to Pocatello, so you're right. That said, we are going to be making our way around between now and the next couple of quarters to tour all of our communities and all of our agencies. And I look forward to learning about what's going on there in Pocatello. And if we're getting in your way, my apologies. I can tell you that as part of culture change throughout Avamere is this idea that we're taking seriously, and it's about local empowerment. We believe that the most important people and the most important decisions at Avamere and all of our business lines reside at the local community and or agency level, and should be empowered to make most of the decisions that are necessary to run an excellent program. I know there's been a lot of transition at Signature, and I think that's really good transition. I know that it is. My apologies that I don't know enough about your business or have not paid enough time at Signature overall. The focus has really been facility and community operations for the last few months. But I'll make a better effort to understand the operations of Signature and learn more about what you're saying. Do you have any specific concerns or specific ideas? I think I heard you talking about marketing. I don't know if you have a specific question that I can help you with today. I'll be glad to do that. I'd venture to say that you'll probably get some support here pretty quick about your question from the folks at Signature in a really good way, and expect to see me in the next 5 or 6 months. I wish I had a better answer for you. Any other questions here? Yes.
With the advent of PDPM coming into play, proposed for October 1st of this year, what does Avamere have planned in order to absorb the fairly certain business losses that will go with such a major change in our payment structure?
Okay, so if you did not hear that, the question is around PDPM, and specifically, what are we doing to plan for what's been described as certain financial losses as a result of that new payment methodology. So let me say a few things. First, at the highest level, knowing that PDPM was coming and PDGM, we have in place one of 6 key strategies, priorities for our company, is preparation for PDPM and PDGM. And there's been a lot of time and effort put into training. I think that every Friday we can tune into, the nursing facilities can tune into a webcast. I know that I was just at a regional meeting in Washington, and there was a presentation on PDPM there. I know that all the administrators are preparing for a 2-day retreat on PDPM, and so we're taking this very seriously. I have a little bit different perspective of PDPM. When we analyze it, I don't foresee certain losses. As a matter of fact, in most instances, now, if you conduct business the same way in PDPM like we conduct business today, we could expect losses. But when you look at a new approach, a team approach versus a therapy-driven approach to coding and skilling, if we do a good job capturing the care and needs of our customers that they really need, or the services that we're already providing, in fact, PDPM represents a significant, or an opportunity for a significant increase in what Avamere and other companies get paid for the work that we're already doing that's not being captured currently in the ICD-10 codes. So if we do our job right, stabilize nursing staff. By the way, I believe that we need to increase our overall RN budget for this and other reasons. But if we do those things right, I believe that this will be a very good thing for our company. And so hopefully we'll get that right and see the benefit by getting it right. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. Other questions? Got to be some questions. Yes?
Have you guys ever thought about like longevity bonuses for people that have been here for a while? I mean, every year we get 10, every time we get a year or 2 years. Some of us have been here for a long time and haven't thought about any more recognition than like your tenure can usually allow you.
Right.
I think that would give a lot of the staff something more to look forward to than just a pen or more wages at the hospital, things like that. Something more to look forward to. We have one gal that, if it wasn't for Patrick, the administrator, giving her a cake to celebrate like 30-something years that she's been here, she would have just gotten a pen.
For 30 years.
Yeah.
Okay, so let me make sure that I've got this right. A good question has been asked. Have we thought about longevity bonuses for folks at Avamere in our various business lines? Like PDPM and the question before, the people initiative, which is actually considered our top initiative as of last year in our strategic plan, is the second of 6 priorities that we're focusing on over 3 years. There are work groups that have been put together. Mike Billings, who is an executive vice president for Avamere, has the primary responsibility of overseeing that priority and that initiative. And we've got teams that are put together where we're trying to figure out what we have to do to become a better employer. And one of the many things that they're talking about are things like longevity bonuses. We're certainly looking at compensation. We're certainly looking at benefits. Also, as important, we're looking at, are we hiring right? Are we having realistic interviews? Are we applying our values to make sure that the folks that are coming on board really represent the kind of values that we expect of each other? We're looking at training and orientation. Too often we're still hearing that someone's a new CNA or a new nurse, and before they're ready, because the community has a need, they're thrown on the floor and usually leave within the first 30 to 90 days. We're hearing things about, in some communities, where staff that have been around for a long time are not collaborating and mentoring the new staff that are coming on. Some places we're actually kind of eating our own instead of working together to make the work environment a great environment. Mike Billings is looking at basic needs. Are we meeting basic needs for all of our employees and all of our communities? And I can tell you we're not. I still go around, let alone the financial needs. When I talk about basic needs, do you have all the supplies and all the equipment that you need to be successful in your role? And too many times we're hearing no. And I can tell you, this is Matt Hilty is on a tirade right now. I've not been to one visit now with this team where there's been a need expressed for supplies or equipment where that's not been fulfilled. And so this is a huge issue that you bring up. And is a pin enough for 10 or 20 or 30 years? It's not. And so it is part of a broader question that you're right about that's front and center. How does Avamere become, think about defining a win from an HR perspective. A win is this, that we become such a great employer that we have more people that want to work for us in every position than we have positions available. Doesn't that sound like a great place to work? We've got a lot of work to do to figure out how to do that. That's how we're defining success at Avamere from a people perspective. And it's going to take us some time to get there, but we're committed to it. You're going to hear more and more. If you haven't participated, there will be groups that are work groups that are put together with teams in every community to meet with Mike and others to figure out in a sustainable way how we become a real provider of choice in every community that we're in. And so I thank you for asking that question. And I just want to come alongside of you and say, thanks for being here. And I'm sorry that we haven't done a good enough job. And that's one of the reasons why we have such high turnover and some staffing issues. And so that will continue to be a discussion item for quite some time. And we also have to learn from those folks that are getting it right. Again, getting back to Table Rock. Why does Table Rock have less than a 1% annual turnover rate? We've got something to learn from here. Why does Cascade have a, pardon me? You got folks that are pointing their finger to Christy Cruz, the administrator there, executive director. And you know what? I believe you're right. It starts there. If you look at our communities with the most issues prevalent in terms of customer satisfaction, employee satisfaction, high employee turnover, regulatory issues, financial problems. There's some common denominators, and we're trying to use data to prove it, but it's intuitive. You just look at Avamere's communities. Those operations that have had stable leadership tend to outperform all of the other communities that have had unstable leadership. And we all know in some of our communities where we've had, for example, turnover of executive directors and administrators 3 or 4 in a year, directors of nursing 3 or 4 in a year, regional directors of operations 3 or 4 in a year. We cannot operate high quality excellent communities that are considered premier employers with best outcomes for our customers in those communities where you've got turnover. We've got to figure out how to put an end to that and make sure that we've got great leaders who love their job and love their career, love the people they serve, and they love this company, and they want to spend a long time doing that in the communities that they're in. And that is a part of becoming a premier provider of choice. And we talk about Christy. Look, you don't have to spend very much time with Christy to understand what a special person she is and how lucky we are to have her. I could say that about a lot of people here and at Avamere. But if we had all clones of Christy, we'd probably have lower turnover, happier staff, better results. There's something to learn.
We have J.M. Bostic.
Jan?
J.M. Bostic.
J.M. Okay.
Josh, hi, sir. I had a question about support for the caregivers and spouses of some of like our dementia patients and the ones that the families are having to adjust with them, like having personality changes or not being able to care for them at home. I was talking to somebody, a family member, and he broke down in my office and started crying yesterday. And this guy was a rancher. It's not common for him to do that. Do we have something in place, or is there a facility that's doing that already?
That's going to be a question that I'm going to have to take note of, and I'll respond to in writing between now and next week. But let me just say this, when it comes to dementia care, Sarah Silva is taking this on at Avamere, living on the community-based care side. And I believe this is one of her priorities. I just don't have the information that you need now. Again, I hate to keep on looking. We're here in Medford, and we've got some team members here from Table Rock who seem to be doing a very good job with their memory care community. Is there anything that you'd like to offer up? Are we working on something right now? Best practices?
Yep, Sarah has a plan, and we're focusing on that, and we'll hopefully build something out later this year.
Okay, so Christy says that's being worked on, and Sarah's in the lead of that. Josh, I'm really sorry that I don't have a better answer, that I don't have more detailed information, but I'll make sure, and we'll write down your question, and I'll get the details of that from Sarah and respond to you within a week. Any other questions, or have we been out? We've been out this for about 45 minutes. Okay. Any other questions or comments that you've got? I might. I think 30 to 60 minutes is about the right time for these, and we'll see if we're making the right announcements, and we'll see if we're providing the right value opportunity where you want to continue to tune in. Candidly, I hope that the questions continue. There were, again, some 20 plus questions that were asked, and maybe I could just do 2 or 3 quick ones of those. And the first one comes from a Washington community-based care employee. Without reading the entire question, basically said, look, you're happy that Avamere is innovating and showing that through the new brand Ovation. We're under construction with new communities in Omaha, Nebraska, and St. George, Utah, Washington, Utah. The concern, though, is that are we applying too many resources to the Ovation brand at the expense of investing in our current communities? I think it's a really good question. I've heard it asked several times. And I'll tell you the answer is no. And I'll give you some examples of that. First of all, one of the companies at Avamere is called Point Development, run by Ryan Haller. Ryan has a team of 11 or 12 responsible for development and construction projects at Avamere, including Ovation. they just hired a project manager whose sole job is to oversee capital expenditure projects for Avamere communities. The last time someone asked this question, the last Ask for Rick, was either live or in writing. Over the last 5 years prior, we had invested about $40 million of capital expenditures into Avamere communities and properties over a period of 5 years. If you look at the likely outlay of capital expenditures at Avamere just for 2019, it's going to be north of 15 million. 8 or 9 million for a group of 10 community-based care facilities that we manage for Chevalier. We've got significant renovation and remodel going on at 2 of our community-based care facilities in Seaside, Oregon. We've got several buildings that have for years suffered from water intrusion. We're spending millions this year to fix that. I can tell you, being up in Washington State, where we've lacked investment for years, those buildings are now beginning to receive the CapEx dollars that they need to take care of their buildings and become competitive again. As we make our rounds, and we're finding that there are equipment needs for the first time in probably 6 years or more. Now, when I visit our communities, I'm finding dietary departments with new equipment, spending tens to hundreds of thousands of dollars on floors and new equipment. I've seen that here at the Waterford, and certainly all around in Washington. And I'm sure I'm missing some things, but the fact is that not only are we investing in the Ovation product, but we're accelerating the investments that we're making in Avamere. The problem is, for 5 or 6 years, we didn't make the investments that we should have been making. And there are scarce resources, and so we're having to prioritize those. But candidly, over the last 24 years, we've never spent as much as we are today on our people and our equipment and our physical plants. I hope that answers your question. Let's see, there was, oh gosh, I'm sorry for the white noise. Let's see if there's anything else that I thought you guys would like to hear about. Oh, someone said at the home office, I've been with Avamere for 10 plus years, and it seems like we're a reactive company. The question is, are we going to become more of a proactive company, getting ahead of our problems? Because I'm trying to figure out whether or not I really want to stay working for Avamere based on that. And that's a really good question. And I think that that's probably a right assessment for the last 5 or 6 years. However, I would say going forward, if whoever asked that question, starting last year, I would say proactivity has been the common theme at Avamere. We brought tens or hundreds of employees together and spent thousands of hours brainstorming about the things that we needed to focus on for the next 3 to 5 years, something that hasn't been done for 5 or 6 years at Avamere. That became a working document, our strategic plan with clear long-term key initiatives, annual objectives, and a budget this year to support that. This is the first year that Avamere actually has funded the strategic goals that were laid out. $5 million to fund those strategic initiatives. This year, success is going to mean that we're going to challenge that strategic plan, and it'll probably become even more focused. But I would say proactive is what it's all about. And by proactive, I'm talking about how to get ahead of the people initiative and become a better employer. I'm talking about making sure that we're ready for PDPM and PDGM this October, and we're doing that. I'm talking about getting back to building out the continuum of care. I'd like to do that on one campus, but where we don't have that ability, for example, here in Medford, we want to provide home and home health care, independent living, assisted living, community-based care, memory care, skilled nursing for short stay, and then hospice. That's the 7 components of the continuum of care that we want to own in every market that we're in. And with the addition of Table Rock, we have that complete continuum here, albeit on 2 or 3 sites. And I could go on with the other priorities. Am I saying that we've arrived at being a purely proactive company? No. Still too many surprises, still too many things that we're seeing when we make our visits. But we're getting there. What I would like is if you take the time to come to my office, and I'm more than happy to talk about this question to learn more about what you think we need to do to become a proactive company, because I know that's what we're working on now. Let's see if there's anything else. I think, you know what, it's been about 50 minutes, and unless there's any more questions or any comments, anything on your mind, here or there, I think that's about enough. And so again, I want to say thank you for the time. Look forward to all your questions. They're going to be answered transparently. The executive team is going to spend a lot of time responding to you. And I look forward to, with Matt, Bob, and Brad, and others, continuing the tours of our communities. And by the way, this is where we should be. We should be in front of our guests. We should be in front of our great teams, learning firsthand about what's going right, what's going wrong, figuring out how to help you become more competitive and more successful. It's the best part of the job. So hope everybody has a good rest of the day. Thanks for your time.